Hey, we are here for the Crow Inquisitors epilogue. This is episode 81 of Crow Inquisitors.
You gotta say it like SpongeBob. He's like, epilogue.
Yeah, this is the Crow Inquisitors epilogue. 9 years later, Theo sends Faith. Anyway, so we're going to do a kind of denouement, falling action for Crow Inquisitors Season 6 and Crow Inquisitors as a whole.
The epilogue.
They all mean the same thing.
Oh.
I was gonna say gotta love English, but that's definitely not English.
So we're gonna give a final send-off to our characters here. The climax has happened. We've gotten all the big final rolls and all that stuff. But we do need to see how everybody's story ends, right? How where they go off into the sunset to do, and what they accomplish, all that stuff. Let's do and honestly, this might be a good time to, I'm trying to think the order of this. We should do a final like trait vote type thing. It doesn't need to be anything super, you don't need to spend a bunch of time pouring over the book for the right trait because it doesn't matter. But, something to give us a send off is like, what is our character's final form, how they may have changed at the very end and all that stuff. But
is
I
that
feel
when
like
we
still
remove stuff that's like irrelevant?
Right, exactly. We could look at your traits and be like, actually, yeah, you finally got rid of that or something like that, right? That's probably the like second to last thing we do, or maybe the last thing we do. We still need to get some like in media res, like finishing up what was just happening moments. But don't let me forget that. That's something we should take care of before we end here. Let's go ahead and look at everybody's character sheet one last time. And get a bits segment here. We don't
want you to see my bits.
You're welcome to have goals if you would like. I don't imagine we'll be doing much, if any, rolling. But at the very least, we can see the final form of your beliefs and whatnot, depending on how everything is shaken out. Cantarius, you're dead. But I assume, right? Like we can delete the goal portions for yours and just take a look at like the last stuff here, right? There's more to this world than just evil. There are good people here and a good God, right? That was the last thing Cantarius believed. The world will not end, not on my watch, and I am a person and my friends need me. And I think those are Cantarius' final beliefs. Yeah.
So are you saying, is this what you're referring to with like the orb stuff? Like maybe this is what I have imprinted into the orb?
Not necessarily. I just wanted to get one last look at everybody's bits. Right, for old time's sake.
Sorry. Okay. Yep. I even remember hearing those words and.
Yep, you're good.
Jared's joke just.
Yeah, I just took. Yep.
Yeah, this would be your chance to do any last tweaking on that if you really wanted to. But
any last? Never mind.
No, not. No.
No, I think that looks good.
I guess the only question really is like always be on the hunt for demons. I think the demons are all gone. What would Cantarius have changed that instinct to if he didn't have to worry about that?
I totally forgot. I still am looking for my father.
Yes, no, I know. There's actually like several epilogue things that Theo needs to take care of.
No, I'm not even going to hypothesize about what.
Yeah, that's fine.
What he would be doing if he was still alive, because
maybe he finds me. It'd be easy. He hears about my greatness.
Are you talking
about your dad? No,
my God, he's still.
He's still dad.
He's still talking about his dad. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought he was talking about Cantarius for a second. I was like,
no.
Just one last time here, Connor. Do you want to list off your traits?
Oh, sure. Foreign-blooded, gifted, ear for voices, iron will, celestial sight, tenacious, feared, affinity for demons, aura of martyrdom, spirit walker, believer, tough as nails, dreadful, driven, aura of determination, resigned to death.
And then technically you also got at the very end there higher power.
Yeah, boy.
We got to see this like final version of Cantarius for all time that will be saved in this Roll20 document, right? This Roll20 campaign. There you go, Cantarius Dascape. And then I guess we didn't actually read off instincts, but always deciphering auras, always offer forgiveness to those who repent, always be on the hunt for demons. And like I like that second instinct. Always offer forgiveness to those who repent. Like it, I don't want to make it into like a Cantarius forgave himself, but at the very least, like he didn't. Once Theo gave him the answer, like I don't deserve redemption either. He accepted it, right?
Yeah.
So, yep, good moments there.
He accepted redemption from someone else. He didn't forgive himself.
Yeah, he couldn't give it to himself, right?
Yeah,
that was part of the whole point.
Yeah, or not. He didn't actively not forgive himself. That part that phrase just doesn't make sense to normal.
No, it doesn't.
I don't think.
Prevent himself from being.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a dumb phrase that shouldn't exist.
Yeah.
Dellon. It looks like you have some simplified beliefs here.
Yeah. I'm going to try to end the war between Ceran and Shoei, even though we kicked all their butts. So probably it's over anyways. But
yeah.
I was meant to do this last session and forgot, but he has to thank Alfons because he could tell that Alfons sent him the power when it happened.
Yep.
I want to have a conversation with Navani where she explains to me how all this crap works, and then so I hope you can have all your lower on point and all the rules and okay.
Yeah.
And then have a conversation with Maria about it because that's Maria.
Yeah, that changes your relationship somewhat.
Yeah, they're mine. Yeah, right, a little bit.
Yeah, you meant Narani. You wrote down Navani, but Navani is a character from the Stormlight Archive.
Oh, did I put a V? That's fine.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna kill Constantino. Stupid brain guy still alive.
Yeah. Just hunt him down and make sure he's finally dead. Annihilate his corpse.
Yes.
All right, good. Instincts and traits one last time.
Oh. Never go unarmed under any circumstances. Do whatever it takes to win when something more important than myself is at stake. Never leave a word against the Holy God unchallenged. I probably don't need to change those, honestly, for the new role. Faithful, mark of privilege, which probably can be changed now to like the God one you said.
Yes, you do get higher power is definitely a one you got.
Tonsured, fearless, believer, gifted, sworn to the church, commanding aura, spirit walker. It's interesting. I wonder if that has any effect to.
Oh, that was what tied you to demon stuff. That probably is what let you fight them so effectively in that last battle that you had with where Cantarius summoned them to you.
I'd say because I wonder. I imagine most of the gods don't have that, so I wonder what that would change.
No, yeah.
Deadly precision and higher power now. Nimble and booming voice.
Yeah, really booming now that you're a god. The whole world can hear you. Cool. Alfons. Alfons.
Dang it. I only had time to do two, but belief one.
What is that looking at?
What's this wetness in my pocket? Crap, Gorath.
No,
I'll find a way to make him whole again.
He's not in your pocket, my dude. Remember, we already had this whole thing.
A magic head battle.
He fell out of your satchel during.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
And he fought Constantino as Brain Monster.
Okay.
So he likely took care of him for you, David.
Oh yeah, okay. I did actually forget about that.
Yeah,
maybe I can fix his body.
Do you want to? Gorath. Yeah.
No, yeah, Gorath. Yeah.
Yeah, probably. I mean, to be fair, I was planning on having Ludwig show up with his body in the session. So
sure. Okay, that's fine. Poor Gorath. Oh man, it's funny.
So that's just gonna be taken care of. Gorath getting his body back?
Probably, yeah. I wasn't planning on it being a roll or anything, yeah.
Okay.
You could have a final conversation, though, about like the future of what you want to do with Gorath.
Something along the lines of learning magic from Gorath.
Yeah, that makes sense, yeah.
And my other belief, I have one last loose end to take accountability for. I will raise Alfredo to be a man of the one true God.
Nice. And you definitely don't mean Alfredo, but there you go.
That's his nickname.
Oh, boy. Sounds good. Yep. So instincts and traits, my friend, one last time.
Always find a reason to use my powers. Always try to surpass Dellon. Always do what I can to protect family and friends.
I mean, is his instinct 2 around anymore? I don't even think it's physically possible for you to do this anymore.
I mean, he's literally the reason that
I mean, we kill the god.
Yes, I know, but like, are you still going to try to surpass
I think every once in a while, Alfons just teleports to the god realm and challenges him.
their monthly wrestling match.
That should be how I get my last sword test. So,
yeah, fighting Alfons one last time and beating the crap out of him with light sword.
He's like on the ground. I still won.
Alfons, you cut Alfons in half accidentally with your white deadly precision sword in the.
Just put a scratch.
Traits, my friend.
Mark of privilege, gifted, tall tale teller, rapier, aura of magic, lucky, charismatic, fleet of foot, familiar face, glib, genius, sonorous voice.
Very nice. And last but not least, we've got Theo.
Just beliefs first, or
yeah, we'll go through all of
them. Still, I will transcend the power of sainthood to protect those I love and bring justice and glory to the one true God. I will strengthen and exercise my faith. And then for the second and third, I just put for the second one, I put find my father. I feel like that's probably something he can focus on now. I did want a fourth belief, but I don't know if I can do that.
No,
probably like find Asia. That's probably. I mean, I'm not like I don't need you. I was like, he's probably going to do that, but I don't know if it's a belief. I guess maybe it's just a given. But third one, ask the one true God what is best for my faith: to rise as a patron or to live the gift of life.
Patron is a service on the internet.
Whatever. Patron.
I do think that your first belief is actually this already. So I think you can have your third belief.
Okay, sure. Yeah. Because I think that's what he's thinking. He wants to ask him, like, what do you like? I know God's probably going to, he wants to hear.
That's literally faith, right? That's how you do that. So yeah, it's that first belief already. Yeah, so that third belief can be like figuring out stuff with Asia.
Define the relationship,
Yeah, figure it out once and for all. Instincts and traits.
Wielding power will enact God's justice. I will take it eagerly. Always trust my friends and never heed danger. Traits: attractive, light blonde hair, appreciation for beauty. Die traits too, right?
Yep.
Life is death. Reduce hesitation. Yeah. Faithful. Glory hound. I realized that it says in range and cover, he must use steel. In fight, he must attempt to charge. He may not do anything else. So I don't think I did that. I think I was supposed to do that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, hesitating from a failed steel test and choosing this reaction, the glory hound must close. In range and cover, he must use steel. In fight, he must attempt to charge. He may not do anything else.
Did you ever fail a steel test?
Well, no. I think those are separate things. Well, hesitating from a failed steel test and choosing this reaction, the glory hound must. Oh, I see. The glory hound must close.
You
only
can't
if you fail a steel test.
Swoon or right. You have to charge.
Yep.
But you never fail the steel test.
You never fail a steel test, so it didn't matter.
Okay. I wasn't sure if it was
That's the funny part about that trait. Once you got us to a certain level of steel, it's like it never mattered because you never failed.
Yeah. True. Fearless, believer, spirit walker, or of holiness, tough, and chosen one. And then call on traits: show no fear, and then clairvoyant.
Mm-hmm. I just realized that Alfons never used his lucky call on.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
I used half of it for something. I didn't use the last part of it.
Yeah, you used the part where you can like guess things randomly. And then,
no, there was a part I deleted from it, so I know I used it.
Wait.
It came with 3.
Yeah, well, the third stipulation is that you can get rid of it to buy off a failed roll.
Yep, that was yeah. There were 3 parts. There was the guess, there was the failed roll, and there was one other thing that I deleted.
Oh, that was the call on. So I guess you did use it. I don't remember when you used it, but if you deleted it, I guess you did. Yeah, we'd have to go back to the tape to see.
I knew we'd forget, so that's why.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm glad you did. Yeah, I just don't remember what you used it on. Maybe something in more range of cover fight or something. There's a lot.
Probably was on magic where you can't usually use a call on. That was my guess.
That makes sense. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Not that anything is going to fail so badly that you need to get rid of your lucky at this point, but
I'm a
right.
hoarder. I'm sorry. I have 3 deeds points I haven't used.
You never
hilarious.
used them. Oh,
Wow.
that's
Oh,
wild.
to be fair, I got 2 of them last session.
No,
so,
true. Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. And I used one of my 2 that before that in that session.
Right. All right, cool. Well, let's go ahead and get epilogue, shall we? I think we open with a montage, right? We see what has happened in the world since you saved the world. We get let me look through my notes here. First thing we see is obviously we see like the gods have finished fighting the demons, right? Like they were like at war with them and fighting them in the spiritual realm and on Earth and whatever they need to do. Their followers are fighting. There's a whole war on the Hall of Serragon. There probably could have been a whole other, like several separate storylines that we could have followed throughout this if this was like an epic fantasy novel where things were happening. And people, maybe not as important as you, but almost as important as you, were doing things that mattered to save the world and keep it like from falling long enough for you guys to do the thing you needed to do. All those things were happening kind of all around the world. We see very well. I'm getting to it. Where we get to see various pantheons of all the different places around the world, kind of lick their wounds and count their dead, figure out what to do next. There are definitely dead gods around the world. We see various parts of the world, including we see a frozen tundra kind of mountainous region and a giant like mega construction gate portal thing with dead bodies all around it of soldiers, like Viking type soldiers that we see. And we see a probably maybe I think it's like some sort of Odin type looking character who is obviously like a Viking-esque god standing over a warrior of some sort. We recognize this warrior as being Ulrich, the demon king of Fjellreich. Josh's old character from season 3 of Crow Inquisitors, who got possessed by a demon and then went off to do horrible things in the background of the campaign setting. And we see this like Odin type figure who's known as Altgard, the Allfather, have a sword, standing over this warrior who's now been divested of his demonness, but like has still done all of these horrible things. And the Allfather looks at him and basically just gives him his last rites and then executes him, right, for his crimes. And then looks around and like the Allfather looks around at his warriors and basically nods to them like, yeah, we saved the gate, right? We did what we needed to do. They were going to use this for evil demon things, and we saved it. And then we cut to the deserts of Nazreen, where season 3 of Crow Inquisitors took place. And we see a bunch of very confused meerkats who were demon possessed that now are not, that then kind of scatter to the winds. And people are like slowly gathering themselves back. I think we even see, maybe we see a walled town that was like fighting off the meerkats, and inside is Antonius's son, Adelmo, who kind of wandered off at the end of season 3 after the cult disbanded. We see him kind of like having taken charge of the city's defense and helped defend, against this meerkat scourge that was going all over the place here. I think we see maybe Fereshte, the goddess of that desert region, standing over the body of what's his face, Caspian Goldvein, who is in his final monstrous demonic form, having led the meerkats or been involved in this like evil scourge at some point here. We didn't get to see, whole big storyline here, and Fereshte is like cut you in half and
nice.
You maybe part of your golden body is crawling away, and she just stabs like her sword into your eye and kills you once and for all.
Nice.
And she says, "Rest in peace, Goldvein." And then we cut away from that and see other things around the world.
Nice.
But then we cut back to the arena, and what's it called? And the people who are still here I think we see the dust clear. Like, there's all this giant horrible demon vortex and all this crazy magic that was going on in this space here. And it's finally starting to clear. The dust is settling. And through the dust, we see eviscerated brain matter scattered across the arena floor. And Gorath, and Jared, I would like you to give us some fun end Gorath stuff here. What did Gorath do to fight Constantino and defeat him? Like, do we see like horrible like spider legs coming out of Gorath's head? Like, what did he do?
Yeah, I think he just goes hog wild with like the physical discipline and just like goes like full like abomination.
Did he merge himself with the dead dinosaur?
Oh, he literally cuts off the dinosaur's head and then like puts his head on the dinosaur.
Amazing.
This is like something out of like The Thing. You ever seen that movie? Or it's just like this grotesque body horror thing. Where it's just like
no, exactly. It's. I'm trying to think of
disturbing.
I'm trying to think of an example. It's like there's I think there's some like Japanese folk horror monster that has like a weird like tiny human head on something. But anyway, I think what we see, right, is like eviscerated brain matter everywhere, and then we see this dragon, right? Because it ended up turning into a dragon, not a dinosaur, right?
Yeah.
Like we see its feet like take a couple steps, and then it kind of wobbles and then collapses. And I don't think we see the body horror part of it, where he's like, his head is like on the neck of it. But we do hear a ripping, and then Gorath's like his head lands in the sand of the arena. He's like, I really hope that Lucerta brings my body back soon. Getting tiresome. And then we see, like, as maybe we do see like little legs come out of his body, made of like some of the dragon's flesh, and he starts crawling across the floor of the arena. But then we see the dust is starting to clear, right? And so Gorath and the audience is now seeing, like, from the arena floor, this space above where Cantarius and Theo are, like, Theo is cradling Cantarius's body, right? In the aftermath of last session. And we see Gorath look up and, like, kind of put his head down, like, in sorrow and, like, respect for Cantarius. And then, I guess he looks up at the scene. And then we also see Antonius standing to the side in the floor of the arena sand, holding this mirror amulet thing. And it is glowing green currently. And he looks at it, and then, like, he seems drained. Antonius himself seems drained, and he closes the clasp on it to, like, close the mirror. And it's still kind of like it had this eerie glow about it, and he looks down at it. And I would like to posit, and as long as everybody else is fine with this, that Antonius was there the whole time. He was just behind the scenes, slowly siphoning off Cantarius's corruption to help Theo with what he was doing. Not that he needed the help, but, like, for narrative purposes, Antonius was there doing whatever he thought he could, like, by slowly draining out the corruption. And then we have this cool little magical artifact that has demon corruption still in it, for sequel fodder.
Yeah.
But I think what happens is, Gorath looks over and sees Antonius, right, as the sand and dust is clearing and everybody can see each other again. And he looks over, he says, "That's mine." and Antonius looks down, he's like, What are you talking about? He's like, no, I mean, that I took that from the planet, like, I brought that with me from the planet I used to live on. That's mine. It's made of material that doesn't happen here. And Antonius looks down and he says, "Well, you can have it then, Gorath. I don't want to look at the thing anymore." And then he, like, throws it into the sand, and Gorath crawls over and then kind of, like, takes it, puts it around his neck. And then, I think we get this kind of wide shot now of the whole arena as the sand and dust is cleared well enough that everybody can see each other again. And I think maybe we see Alfons stumble into the main part of the arena from the part he was in elsewhere, holding, like, helping your father, like, walk and holding, like, Luca's hand, and then Ipina is walking next to you. That makes sense to you, Alfons?
Pardon?
I think we see Alfons walk from the bowels of the arena into the arena floor now to see everything as well. Helping your father walk, holding Luca's hand, and then Ipina's like walking next to you, like you've recovered your family.
Luca turn back into a baby, or is he still like way too old?
Well, it's not that he didn't like turn older or anything. It's just that
I thought you said he like got older.
No,
he just acted really weirdly.
He acted weirdly older. Yeah.
Oh.
We did specify though that his exorcism that was performed by his father, or not his grandfather, reverted his mind back to what it should have been, and he forgot all of this horrible trauma.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So I think he just says,
that's convenient.
He looks up at you, and here's a question: Did I'm trying to think if Ipina would have told him about like Alfons being his dad, like whether or not Luca would look up as a 3-year-old and be like, what's that, Dad? Or if he would be like, what's that, Uncle Alfons? Like, how would he talk? Like,
Alfons just walks up to him and he's like, "Who's your daddy?" I can just imagine him saying that.
What do we think? I'm trying to think of what Ipina would have done.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's not exactly a great look.
Maybe it's more subtle. Maybe it's just kind of like she introduces Alfons to him more, and then it's kind of like she's not saying like, "Oh, hey, this is your dad." It's just kind of like fitting him into the role.
Yeah. Okay. We'll say Luca looks up at you because you're like holding his hand, Alfons, and sees like the arena, and he says, "Uncle Alfons, it's scary in here."
Is the big dragon still like?
Yeah, it's like his body. The head is gone, but yeah, it's just kind of collapsed on the ground.
Yeah, it's all done now, I think.
Yeah. Theo, you're cradling Cantarius' body, and like you can now see the rest of the arena and can see like all your friends. What do you do?
I don't think he would have much to say at this point. I think he just says like, he deserves a proper burial.
Gorath makes his way up to you and says, "And we'll give him one."
I think so. Is Dellon here right now, or is he not?
No one knows what Dellon is yet. I mean, Alfons does, but like he doesn't have a body around to. He's transcended.
I think he kind of like he doesn't really say it like out loud, or he says it out loud, but not like very loud. I think he says like, "Lost 2 friends in one day," because like he spent so much time with Dellon and Cantarius, and now they're kind of Cantarius gone, and now Dellon's gone, and it's just kind of like,
yep.
Because he has the trait or the instinct, always trust your friends. So it's just kind of like, well, now his friends are gone in a way.
Yeah.
He's probably
got Alfons left.
Well, he's not dead.
He's truly alive. He's living on the inside, roaring like a lion.
Yeah.
Nice.
In the orb,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you have that, Alfons. New and improved. Oh hey, yeah, that actually means real quick. We need to just give you your Eartha now. Yeah, and Cantarius didn't spend his deeds either. What were you doing, dude? I apparently was not giving you guys enough challenges, or you guys had too many forks or something.
Wait, does he have the martyr trait? Do I get his deeds points or?
Well, then not you, but Alfons does.
I gave him the orb.
Oh.
Yeah, that was what he decided his relic was. So, Alfons, you get 3 deeds points, 7 persona, and 23 fate.
Wow.
Guys, I have 6 deeds.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Well, it does make sense. If anyone would end up with 6 deeds points in a game of Burning Wheel, it would be Jared.
Jared, you ended your game with 3. You got 2 deeds points from goals last time?
What?
I don't think you got 2 last time. I think you got 1 last time.
Oh, okay. But you just were sitting on 2 that whole session? Or the
Yeah.
whole season.
Oh, I
That's-
spent
that's
one.
Crazy.
Oh yeah, I'm very.
He's gotten
I don't
4
drink my
deeds
potions
points.
I
Yeah.
don't
There,
drink my
there, there have
potions in
been
Skyrim
there have
either.
been quite a few rolls where I'm just like, if I fail this, I don't even care how fickle this is. I'm gonna spend a deeds point, but I
Yeah.
never needed to.
It never
Yeah,
yeah.
agreed. Yeah.
It's funny.
To be fair, I fully expected to. I just rolled really well that last roll.
hmm
All right, well, I'm gonna Gray Shade Sword. I'm gonna White Shade Persuasion and Gray Sage Teleportation.
Yeah. I mean, so yeah, we see everybody in the arena, right? Like,
I think he
after
picks up Cantaris and like carries him out of the arena. Probably. I think it'd be cooler if he was like they burn his body like sign of we'll put
it would probably be whatever I don't know, whatever the Ceran religion does, and I think it's probably burial.
No, my religion.
It's your religion, Theo. I can't think of a reason why the Serrano wouldn't bury their dead.
Bring out your dead. Little casket.
Yeah, so you guys are planning to do that.
Yeah.
Alfons, I'm just giving you guys opportunities to say anything you want to these NPCs, to do anything in particular, any immediate aftermath if you need to. Otherwise, we can skip ahead.
Well, the only NPCs here are who again?
Your family and Gorath and Antonius.
Oh, I pick up. Well, yeah, I pick up Gorath. I'm like, how do I fix you now that this is over?
Yeah, he says, honestly, it shouldn't be too much longer until Ludwetta shows up. At least if the world ending almost hasn't capsized her ship.
And she's got like a replacement body.
Oh, yeah, you didn't get rid of my body. Remember, you cut off my head, and then the body stayed with her.
And it just lived this whole time.
Oh yes, I can feel everything it's doing right now. It's definitely still on a ship. I can feel the rocking motions.
I don't want to know what Ludwetta's been doing with your body.
Oh, she hasn't been that crass. Has been a little handsy with my pockets every once in a while, trying to get something in there, but I think it's been incidental.
She's like using his pockets because she doesn't have any.
Yeah, she's like, wait a second, I don't have any pockets.
You're gonna stick around for a while after, I hope.
Well, that depends. Doesn't seem like I'm needed around these parts. There's a whole universe out there, Alfons, just waiting to be explored and documented and manipulated.
And I've got your ticket out of here.
Ah, do you now?
Well, I'm the best spatial mage in the universe.
Well, that's not remotely true, but you are on a pure note, so I suppose your power is particularly potent. I'm not sure how well it would work the farther you get from Serragon, though. We can try. Certainly going to the heavenly realm during an era on this planet where it was shrinking exponentially, it certainly was difficult, so I commend you for that.
I could make a faith roll. You want to?
Are you saying you want to travel the spheres, Alfons?
Potentially, maybe, I don't know. I've got a kid to raise first.
Mm.
But considering I'm half god, half essential master, I think I'll be living for a very long time. And that's now dawning upon me.
Yes, if you want to, you can. The question is, do you want to? It's not for everyone.
And that's where we cut while I figure out what Alfons is gonna do.
Yeah. Cool. So, I do have a couple questions, kind of in like a more abstract sense, before we move on to like more scenes. A couple questions about like the some of the stuff that happened that we should kind of iron out the details on. Why did Cantarius have to die? That's part of the question I think we need to answer real quick, just for our own sakes. In theory, he was a god.
It's not like he's dead. It's more like he's not in a mortal body, and so his body was left behind.
No, I think he's dead. Like Connor explicitly stated, he passed on and went to the afterlife. Like he's
but he said that his essence was like protecting the planet.
Yeah, I basically became part of the ozone.
Yeah, if I remember right, he didn't need to die. He chose to die because he wanted to create basically a reverse effect of what had happened, right? Like he wanted to make a shell around the pure note to protect it.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, I guess part of my question is
Connor, because I think that's right, but
he's not really dead, but he's no longer in his physical body, and so his body is dead.
Well, so part of the reason I ask is because, as we learned with Dellon ascending, there is a certain sphere of responsibility that is that exists. What's the word I'm looking for? Cantarius took up godhood. That's actually what he did, and that's something that I didn't exactly explicitly state, but this entire kind of time Kraos has been an actual god. Like he's a demon who usurped godhood, which is why he was Lord of Demons. He had power over this planet in a way that a normal demon who came here would not have. He actually had the godhood of this planet. When he says he was the first god of this planet, the old god, he's actually correct. He was the original god of this world. Ruled over its inhabitants before the gods showed up to kick him out, right? Gotcha. In which case, when Cantarius became usurped him, he did become god of X and whatever that was. I haven't detailed what that was exactly, but you did take up a responsibility in the same way that Dellon did, and you giving up the responsibility is not exactly how it works, right? Like as we said with Dellon, like if someone doesn't wield it, someone else will wield it.
Well, maybe.
So I'm curious about
maybe that's the thing, right? Because like, if the responsibility he picked up was the original god of this planet, then that's what he did, right? He fulfilled that responsibility by sacrificing himself to protect it, right? Like he basically became one with it,
permanently protect it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I just wanted to make sure we got that in the game said out.
And I mean, obviously, it's Connor's character, so you can contradict that if you like.
Does that make sense, Connor?
My understanding was that he was giving up his life to make an ozone layer of power to protect the world from the demons. And so what, I guess I didn't quite follow what.
So my initial thought would be, in reality, I don't know if Cantarius would have had to die to accomplish that. According to what my understanding of the rules of this situation were, you had the artifacts, you were in the Day of Reckoning, you were the god of the planet. You could have just instituted that.
We could tie it into something like because of his condition, whereas like he was already sort of dying, whereas like he can't really stay in this sort of any sort of physical being. Yeah, and so like like maybe when you ascend to a god, you still like it's like a perfected body, but in this case, his body was like already dead and he was being held.
I actually do think that's the case. Like you don't transcend in such a way that like you stop being you just take on like a different version of yourself. You're a higher version of yourself. So I do like the idea that maybe Cantarius couldn't handle everything that had happened to him. He was going to die anyway, and so his last act before dying was due to that.
I also in terms of mechanics, I didn't roll to do that. We just said Cantarius dies and accomplishes it.
Yes.
Just like it's like what's the word, like carried.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. I also think it's interesting because like you said, they could have just instituted that. I mean, the gods just did that. They didn't have to sacrifice their lives to do that to the demons, but they had to build keys.
Right.
And Cantarius did.
True. That's true.
So maybe the idea is by doing the way he did it, there is no key. Right, like he is the key.
It will not be
also
unlocked anymore. Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah.
Whereas if he had done it normally, he would have had to make an opening, like a door, a weakness.
Yeah,
right.
That makes sense.
Because then there's a reason for like it benefits him to have done it.
Yeah, I think all of those are probably the reasons why that had to happen that way. I just want to make sure I got that straight in my head because there was that small piece that I don't know if I was explicitly clear about last time, that's what we were taking up, was like a godhood similar to Dellon's. And so in theory, that still existed. But I do like the idea that's kind of been just subsumed. Like, there doesn't need to be a god of Serragon anymore, because there's a bunch of gods of Serragon, and like Dellon's one of those. Yeah.
And I think the idea is like, there kind of is still, right? Because his power is still there, but he's just not in it anymore because he's with, he moved on, right? But I don't know.
Okay, cool. Another question I had was, what about Luca? So I know we went back and forth a lot on like the what the prophecy actually was. I do think we did settle on Luca had to be the one to put his hand on the keys to finally in the day of reckoning. That was going to be the thing that would solve everything. Right. Seems like we just forgot about that or something at the end.
I thought about that too. Yeah. I was like, I thought it was like this.
What do we think? Like, are we fine with just being like, actually, it was Cantarius?
Maybe there was like another way, and we changed it, and maybe like what Cantarius did, or like something with me and Cantarius, like changed what was supposed to happen. But like from the one true God's perspective, it always was. But it's like there was a prophecy, almost like this will happen unless something like severe happens, which was sort of a combination of Cantarius, the one true God essentially coming back, and also
David, what idea you had a moment of?
Well, I actually don't know if it works, because my thought was he was special, right? Like the whole idea was that he.
The whole point was like Luca was the son of a demigod, sort of a thing, right? There was something going on there.
So my original thought was that maybe there had to be godhood involved. And so the reason that Cantarius was able to do it was because he took godhood and was able to do it. But the problem is that I don't think the reason I sort of doubled back was because I don't think that the child had anything that Alfons and I didn't have as far as like godhood levels.
Yeah. So if I remember correctly, the reason why it was set up this way is because of Narani. Narani had an intimate influence on the keys when they were made originally, and implanted within a couple of bloodlines, all of your bloodlines, the ability to find and unlock these keys in the future. And Luca just happened to be the end point of that whole bloodline thing, and so he was the perfect vessel to take all of them. And so this is Narani did all of this intentionally. So that she could get power over the keys when she needed them. Yeah.
So then maybe it's just that Cantarius, assuming godhood, fulfilled the same requirement that Luca had. Sort of
right.
Way,
yeah. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
So like instead of needing the password, he was just like, "I'm the owner."
Yes. Right. I do think that is probably part of it. Is like his connection to the demons. Kind of bypassed all of the requirements necessary to use the keys. Like, he used the artifacts because anyone can use the artifacts, but it was really his connection to the demons that was the main point that allowed him to do what he did, and just kind of
makes sense
surpass
those
limitations.
As a point of clarification, Narani is all of our moms?
No. She didn't. She chose bloodlines. She didn't explicitly create them. Yes,
not all of them.
I heard intimately created artifacts and implanted bloodline stuff, and I went, "What are we talking about?"
I probably used the wrong word there, but no. Yeah, that's the final revelation.
In a different, right. Everybody,
everyone's related to Narani. You're all incest.
Yuck.
Yes, incest babies. I'm not the only one.
Yeah, someone's got to stick a knife in Narani at the end of this whole thing.
I mean, that's what caused this whole problem. So.
I mean, ultimately, she is the one who saved the world.
Yeah, she did create the answer to all of the things that she broke.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yes.
She just didn't do it the way that how am I forgetting his name? Dellon would do it.
Yeah. I do like the idea, because we did see Achia once Cantarius started becoming the catalyst of the end. We got a shot of Achia doing another astrology test in the monastery she's hiding in right now, and singing the Cantarius' name in the stars like disappear and change to the devil instead of the father of the devil. I do like the idea that maybe we could just do the same reversal trick and be like, actually, the demons were just trying to scare you. It was actually the father. they specifically
they blocked out
hid
the
the
wrong
wrong
word.
part, and it was actually he was meant to be the father of the planet the whole time, and not the father of the devil. That's a simple enough change to kind of make the prophecy stuff all kind of land.
It was also the darkest hour. Like that makes sense that it would be really
Yeah,
hard,
I kinda
hard
like
to.
All right, cool. I just checking on that. Let me double check and see if there's any other big questions I wanted to ask. Yeah, the other question was like for Connor, what did you put in the orb? Like what did you provide to Alfons besides being a relic? What does this orb do? Is it same aura of magic thing that it was before? Is there anything else beyond that? Like what is it?
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't think this. I didn't decide this.
Partially, I'm wondering. The main thing I'm wondering,
I didn't think I'd have to figure it out.
The main thing I'm wondering is not like what effects does it have as a magic item? Make them all up now. I'm asking, did Cantarius, in
Right,
his
what
moment
is it
of
exactly?
transcendent godhood, impart any last words to Alfons or the others, or information he wanted them to know?
I don't think so. Well, I guess my main thing is, I guess, rather than decide that, what would actually like.
The one thing I thought of was Cantarius understands the bigger picture now, right? Like that this planet was like a key battlefield in a larger war. I'm curious if he would like impart that in any way to Alfons, the players, or whoever. Or anything
Yeah,
along those lines.
then when I become a patron or patron saint, I can go like we'll have a different campaign somewhere else in the universe, and then I'll show like my character will show up as an NPC that's like,
Exactly.
oh yeah, you don't know anything.
Exactly. Yeah.
Crossover.
Yeah.
So my thing was like, I guess for me to implant something into the orb to try and influence Alphonse, I feel like it would be kind of against his last words to Alphonse.
Sure.
Was that he is like, you've
totally
made
fine.
it. So
Just curious.
but that's got me thinking like maybe the orb is like one of the seekers, one of the golden seekers from Harry Potter, and once he figures out the truth, it'll unlock and provide him more power or something like that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's the only thing I could really think of in terms of
I like
something that something that Cantarius would put in there besides just, whatever.
Yeah, sure. That makes sense to me.
Deeds points or whatever.
Cool. All right, cool. Yeah. Whoever would like to push us along here and frame a scene for us is fine. Or I can choose someone. Like everybody has loose ends they need to tie up. I'm curious where we go next. What do y'all think?
I was just thinking we like skip to like the funeral. So it's like, because he just died. We're not gonna be like, oh, what do we do with the body? And then we go do other stuff and then like come back to the body. It's like, no, we're just gonna go bury him because he's, his body's laying there.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Can I turn his body into a stone statue? I don't know how much wave handium do I have.
You could probably ask one of the other gods to do it. I don't know. Why do you want to do that?
That sounds kind of morbid. Like disrespectful to his body.
Nah, he's a statue. He'll be like a monument. I don't know.
Well,
to be fair, his family, like the rest of his family, is buried like near the embassy here in like Lucerta. He might just want to be buried next to them, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. That stuff.
Do we get like a scene of it just downpouring and we're all just like sitting there around as they drop him into the ground?
That makes sense to me. Right, we see all the important NPCs that have mattered, and would like want to say their final goodbyes to Cantarius. Yeah, we see see the rest of the Ton family, and we see any of the church people that have mattered. We see his uncle, right, as the last little remaining member of that family. Achia there. And I think we can probably say at this point that like Ludwig has come back with Goreth's body, and Goreth can be whole again, unless you, Jared, you really wanted to have a whole scene there.
I mean, him getting his. I mean, not really.
Yeah, I just don't think it matters, right? Like, it was just a matter of time passing before he could get his stuff back. So I think he's normal again,
as long as he doesn't, like leave the planet. I mean, I don't even think
he's not going to leave yet. No
planet, but yeah.
But yeah, so we get that moment of solemn reflection as he's put into the body next to his.
Can Theo like place his staff like on his casket?
Yeah.
And he says something like, "When winter is gone, spring will return." Because
yeah, we see the name of his son, right? Winter, and he was probably buried here. Winter was as well. And I like to think that his staff now is like this kind of ashy white. Now instead of this dark black.
Antarius the White comes back.
Exactly. Maybe we see a ghostly image of Dellon presiding over the.
Well, I was gonna say like Antarius is like Star Wars, like in Star Wars at the end when he looks over and they're all like the ghosts.
Can I not like?
I think you can just appear as a normal person.
Okay, yeah, I'll do that then.
Yep.
You had God show up to your funeral. It's pretty sick.
One thing I did want to get with Dellon quick before we actually see him interact with anyone else is I think we see you reeling from godhood and kind of getting settled into what that means and figuring out things in the heavenly realm and whatnot. And right, like Tanis is dead, and some of the other gods are dead, and the ones that are remaining kind of welcome you into the ranks, and like, yeah, we're all servants of the great god now, and we're gonna pick up the pieces and try to pull this world back together. And I do think at one point, someone, and I'm trying to think of how this would go down, like where this would happen. You tell me, David. I think Dallas / whatever I'm going to end up naming that guy, shows up to talk to Dellon specifically. How would he, like, I don't know if he can just show up in the heavenly realm, like, so like how would that go down?
Jeez, I don't know.
I do, like, there's a couple things here, like, he would try to get your attention in some way. You can sense as a god that there is, like, and you remember seeing this in your faith vision before, maybe Theo's faith vision, whatever it was, these stars outside the planet that were trying to come in to help. And you can sense now that these were those. It was like the Hellbreakers, right? This group of kind of angelic figures who are going to try to descend, and they they can't do anything now, but they're here to talk to you now.
Okay. Yeah. I guess what does he say when he shows up? Does he introduce himself?
Oh, I'm curious. Like, they're just trying to get in touch with you, like whatever magic way they have of like signaling to you that like, hey, we're here and we want to talk. That happens, and you're kind of in charge of where that occurs.
Oh, where it occurs?
Yeah, like, do you go down to Earth to meet them? Do you, like?
I think maybe just to pull everything together, maybe we can have it happen at the funeral, right? Like,
oh yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, we see Dellon off to the side, in his armor, there, and I'd like to think that maybe, because you're not quite ready to have the conversations with everyone about like, am I dead or am I not? Like, what is? Maybe you're there, but like you've used your god magic to make no one recognize you yet, right? You're just kind of there. Right. Yeah, there you go. So we see this other version of Dellon there standing in the crowd. And then, we see Sean Bean step up beside you. And he looks a lot like he would in like, Game of, like the first season of Game of Thrones or whatever that character is. I don't remember the character's name.
Stark,
Yeah, whatever that guy was, the guy you played in that show. From the pictures I've seen. he kind of looks like that, right? And he steps up beside you in his kind of regalia, in this kind of darker cloak, and he says, "Welcome to godhood."
Yeah, I'm still not sure what to make of that. Who are you exactly?
My name is Dallas. I am here to inform you of some things.
Like what?
This fight for your planet, for Serragon, it's a very important battlefield, but a single battlefield it remains. There is a greater war, one that you are now a part of. There are certain things you need to know to fight that war well. I would.
Suppose
we would.
oh, sorry.
I think he says. We would work together with you on this if you would have us.
I suppose I shouldn't be surprised. There's always something new to fight about. Or I guess older in this case.
New and old every day. But yes, Dellon, you're correct. There's another war to fight.
Well, how do I do my job here if I'm fighting a war somewhere else?
Yeah, and he seems to think about that for a moment. He says, "It is important that you treat your responsibility." Oh, what's the word I'm looking for? With the respect it deserves, and that means that you will always remember to protect Serragon. But what your friend did to protect this place, it has provided it with an unprecedented level of protection. You will have a safe place here to launch out into the spheres if you so desired. I doubt that even he says some name you don't recognize, some demon lord or whatever that you wouldn't recognize. Yeah, he says, I doubt even the Black General could penetrate that barrier.
I've done a lot of leaving to kill strangers far away. I think I need to spend some time at home. But
Certainly. I'm not asking you to go on another crusade, Dellon. Not yet. But you must understand that the spheres are bigger than you, bigger than this place. And eventually you will be drawn into the fight again.
I will do my best to be ready for that when it happens.
And we will try to provide you with the information you need so you can make that decision.
I appreciate that. Although I'm still not sure I understand who you are exactly.
We refer to ourselves as the Hellbreakers. I think it was Xanatos who came up with the title, or maybe maybe someone came up with it for him. I don't remember exactly how it went down, but it stuck. And that's what we do, really. We break hell wherever we find it. We were trying to help, and I was here on Serragon back a few years ago, trying to help you in whatever way I could, but the darkness that penetrates the darkness that covered this place was too thick. We couldn't figure out what was happening before it was too late, and then we were locked out.
Dellon looks up at the coffin and says, "Hellbreakers. Cantarius would have liked that."
Yes, I imagine he would. I had a short conversation with him before he passed. He seemed more confused than anything.
He did like to overthink things. Well, how long will you be here?
For some time yet. There's not another crisis, or there isn't another crisis I have to deal with, as far as I know. This was the most important thing happening in the spheres right now. Hopefully that means we'll get a bit of peace and quiet.
I'll try not to let that go to my head. I still have a lot of reorienting to do. I still have very little idea of what any of this is actually means.
I understand. You focus on your place here among the Pantheon, and the other gods can fill you in on some of the rest of it. They know all the old pieces, but it's been a while before the It's been a while since the Hellbreakers and the Pantheons of Serragon have had a working relationship. There'll be some developments I want to inform you about.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll see a lot of changes about that. There was this was a mess, I guess, to put it lightly. But if you don't mind, I have some people I need to speak to.
Go ahead. I'll be here when you need me.
He gives them a handshake. And then, I'm going to go look for Alfons.
Goodbye, interdimensional space guy.
Goodbye, alien. I'll go find Alfons.
Sure.
A guy who looks like Dellon, but with hair, walks up to you, Al.
Why, hello, good sir. Can I help you?
He actually looked a lot like you, Alfons.
Yeah. I suppose.
He's joking.
Yeah. He just slaps you on the shoulder. He says, when I was in that writhing blackness and that spark of light coalesced in front of me, I could tell it was from you. There were rose petals around it. And I know that means you gave it up. I don't know if I'm suited for this, if I'm good enough for this, but I'll endeavor to be. And thank you for that. I'd probably still be floating around in the gross. I don't know. It wasn't pleasant. It'd probably still be there if it wasn't for you. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, I figured becoming the god of harems probably wasn't the right path.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's one of the responsibilities the great god handed down to. Yeah, probably better we avoid that one. Yeah. Plus, it might be strange to see Nirani every day when you. I don't know.
Good luck with that.
Yeah. I still don't know what that's going to look like. But what's next for you?
Well, I gotta raise the kid.
Yeah. Well,
after that, I don't know yet. I mean, seems kind of a waste to be a master of spatial magic and just sit on a perfectly protected world. Maybe I'll pray on it.
Yeah, you should do that.
Try that out.
If you decide you want to, if the one world isn't big enough for you, let me know. I might have some very new friends who
some
can help
contacts.
You with that. Yeah. I'll miss you, of course, but I understand it's hard to contain someone like you.
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, I can kind of just show up whenever I want.
Yeah, I suppose that's a neat trick. Yeah, I think he just taps on the shoulders. Good luck. I'm not sure how this god thing works. I don't know how often I'll be around, but I'll be there as often as I can whenever you need me if I can manage it.
Oh, I appreciate it, but I've got this, and then I draw out the old God of War's sword.
I see. Well, I suppose you're more than capable. Try not to get into too much trouble.
Well, we just slayed potentially thousands of demons. I don't know how much. I don't know what it would take for us to consider trouble from this point. But
somehow I think the god of harems could find a way. Just, tread lightly.
I endeavor not to bring about another apocalypse.
Appreciate that. Well,
And
yeah,
then he hugs.
yeah, brother hug.
Yeah.
And then we can look at somebody else for a while if you want.
Yeah.
Do we want to check
Oh,
with
sorry.
somebody else?
I thought you were still talking to
Oh, no. Yeah. I was saying we can focus on somebody else for a little bit.
Cool. Yeah. The other things we need to figure out, like in the immediate, is we need to figure out. I guess we can see a quick scene of like how Ceran kind of puts itself back together. I think we get a montage of.
Yeah, I have a conversation with the king that we can do, but I didn't want to just go from my scene to my scene. You know what I mean?
I think we do see like the king, take charge and start putting stuff back together. One note I wanted to have that I've known for a little while is, remember there's some reason why the Shoei guys were able to like get so close,
right? They like
to
snuck
everything.
Past our ships, yeah.
And I think it gets revealed at one point that Nico Ard, the guy who was a bishop and then gave up his bishopric for money, he also sold out to Shoei for money. And so we get him, getting arrested and executed and whatnot, right?
Nice.
As well. All that kind of gets taken care of. One thing actually, real quick, I just remembered I want to have is moment where what's it called? Kentaris' uncle is at the funeral.
Yeah.
So we're going to get that montage in a second with Ceran, but I do think we see Kentaris' uncle step up to the casket before they like lay it in there. And he says, so you were saying goodbye that day by the docks, like talking to him, but obviously Kentaris isn't there. And it's funny because I just re-listened to this conversation that they had at the beginning of season 6 after that like big fight with Shoei at the docks, and then you guys headed out to deal with Faustus. Kentaris' uncle says, that day when we spoke, I said that I was surprised that Faustus was corrupted, that he was the ringleader of it all, because I had always pictured him an honest man. And you told me that this scourge that you seem to have defeated, the demons love to corrupt honest men. That is what you told me. Well, it looks like they missed one. And then he lets his hand fall away from the casket and they bury him.
Can Dellon do something over the casket as well?
Yeah.
Just like have everybody come up and as they're saying stuff to the. Okay, cool. Yeah, so Dellon goes up and he says, hey, old man. He just like taps on the, I don't know, is this an open casket? Or
taps on his body.
Sure, yeah, I mean, whatever.
Oh,
Probably Theo would be in charge of that.
All right.
Whoa. Stand back. Don't touch him. I think it's closed at this point.
Okay. So he thumps his, a knuckle on the lid and says, you did good. You brought a lot of people, a lot of peace they wouldn't have had otherwise. And just enjoy your rest. You deserve it more than most. And he just kind of puts his hand on the lid for a minute and then sort of knocks on it and walks away.
Cool. Yeah, so we get this kind of montage of Ceran putting himself back together. The gods are also putting the world back together. But I think, Dellon, honestly, we can probably just move to your scene with the king. I think it's just chronologically next where we're going.
Yeah.
So again, played by Timothée Chalamet.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. I guess what is he doing? Because I'll probably just show up.
It probably honestly could be either at the arrest, execution, or some part of the process of dealing with Nico.
Sure. Yeah. An execution is dramatic. Yeah. Maybe we see the casket go into the ground, and then we zoom out.
A rope being put around. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. A rope being put around Nico's neck. I like to think that it's probably a beheading because it's thematically appropriate that we would get one last execution at the same spot that you guys were going to be executed.
Sure.
Right.
So the wooden casket turns into a wooden block, and we zoom out and his head's on it.
Yep.
Yeah. So I guess I'll just pop up by the king. I don't know. Can I just teleport? How does that work? I have so many questions about what I can do that don't matter because I can't.
You can just do whatever. It's fine. It doesn't matter that much.
All right, sick. I'll just kind of sidle up behind him. I think I'm bald again because I don't need to. Well, I don't know. Is it a problem if people see me?
I don't necessarily. It kind of up to you how you want to handle it, right?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't want to cause a big disturbance at the funeral, but I think I don't care here, right?
Yeah.
I think it was out of respect to Cantarius, but I'm back to being bald now.
Yeah.
What was this? This is sort of side related. What was the symbolism of the broken ring?
It was basically the idea that
the full ring was God, and so we're I
think it was the idea that we were trying to get to perfection, but we would never get there. I think.
Okay. Cool.
That's the idea.
Yeah. I was going to say, because if it was a closest to God thing, he was going to have it his tattoo's going to be completed. But
I think the idea, I think the original idea of way back when was the whole 374th cycle thing of he's trying to finish to be perfect, but obviously that's not the case anymore. I think the idea is you're trying to be perfect and can never quite get there, but
okay. Yeah. He definitely still has that tattoo, and he just sort of walks into frame, as it were, next to the king, and says, "It never really ends, does it?"
Oh, my lord.
How widely known is it that I'm
I would assume that Theo would have told.
Okay. And I suppose I was a bishop, so I suppose somebody's got to take my spot and all that.
Yeah.
All right. This is none of that. Listen, I understand, like I said, it never really ends, but this business with Shoei, it needs to be over. I know you were hoping it would be your claim to fame and all that, but maybe let this all be enough. Claim to fame is not a medieval thing to say. You're whatever.
Moment in the sun.
Yeah.
So sorry. So what do you say? What was going to be the
war with Shoei is over?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. And sorry, you were implying that he did prove himself.
Yeah, I was I know that you were hoping that would be your moment in the sun, but let all of this be enough.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. He says, I must be honest, Dellon. I think I've had enough of war for one lifetime.
Glad to hear that.
And part of it is just he was grown up. He grew up as a privileged nobleman and probably never had to do any fighting himself. And
right, he saw it and he was like, "Wow, this sucks."
Yeah.
So he says, "Glad to hear that." I'll be having the same conversation with Shoei, and hopefully there is amenable. But do let me know if you're in need of any assistance.
I suppose that's your job now, isn't it?
Something like that.
He nods. Thank you, Dellon, for giving me the chance to make something of myself.
Of course. And if the church will have to find a replacement for me, so I can't make sure personally that they'll live up to the decisions we made before all this started. But if they give you trouble, let me know.
Well, I believe we already have a candidate, one that I think is long overdue. And we see at the execution, he like nods over, and you see Averio, your buddy, in with whatever sash it is that signifies that he is the commander of the Holy Knights now.
Next, yeah.
Right, and he's obviously the next guy. So.
Yeah. He smiles and says, "I couldn't have picked better myself."
In fact, you did pick better. It was your recommendation, hidden, buried under the bureaucratic mess that Sergio tried. That I found the recommendation in the first place.
I suppose you'll do well. I'm confident in that. Just don't lose sight of. Just remember what happened here. Don't lose sight of any of this. There's a lot to learn, and the temptation that drove us Ceran to the place it was, to that darkness, literally. Most people don't have an experience to learn from like this.
Yeah. Or such clarity on a worldwide scale. I hope that we do learn from this. It's terrifying to think that our own patron saints were working against us here.
Yeah. Well, if I have anything to say about it, it won't happen again.
I'll have to trust in that then.
Yeah, I think he like holds his hand out, shake it, and says, "And we'll have to put our faith in you." Metaphorically, of course.
Yeah. And he thinks like he should say something, and then realizes there's not really anything else to say, and then he shakes your hand.
Nice. All right. Phew.
So,
then,
obviously you're going to go to Maria next, and talk to her, I assume, right? So, but let's. I'm curious, Theo. Your conversation with like Achia and figuring out what you want to do. Like, what's Theo up to? Like, let's follow him for a second.
I think he doesn't really know what to do next.
Right.
I think he's like he talks to her and is like, what do you think I should do? Like, am I being too? I don't know. He's curious to what she would say.
I mean, obviously, after the obvious like reunion and hugs and all that stuff, and I think she does inform you on her like astrology stuff that she saw and then maybe unsaw after the Day of Reckoning came, and all that stuff, so we can get it in the scene somewhere. But I guess she probably maybe you're like sitting in the garden, maybe the same garden that you were in back in season 2. I think meditating up in the gardens. Talk to Sergio at one point up there, above the like Vatican or whatever it is. And you're sitting on like a stone bench in the garden here, and she says, "Funny, I think I always assumed that you would end up as the patron saint. You seem so dead set on ascending to that place, and I think I just assumed that whatever you put your mind to, you will accomplish."
That's the thing, isn't it? Now that I've reached essentially everything I've ever wanted, I don't know if it really is. I feel still lost. Other than knowing who I am, but now that I've given in to the will of the one true God. I don't know if this is what he wants for me. I don't know if I think he knows that what I want isn't what's best for me.
She says, I can't answer that question for you, Theo.
So many loose ends here on is the planet Serragon?
Serragon is the name of the planet, yeah.
Yeah. There's so many loose ends here on Serragon. My father, I've been told he's still alive. After all these years, I thought he was dead. And then there's you. All I've ever wanted was revenge on the gods and to do what I thought that they couldn't, but now that I'm faced with the opportunity, I'm content being here.
Well, maybe you don't have to decide now, Theo. Maybe there will still be a time to move on to something greater.
Maybe the only gift that the one true God ever wanted to give me was just, after all the pain and all the loss, just one moment of peace, where I know that he's in control and I'm not. And for once in my life, things aren't falling apart.
Dellon gave us a whole church that we still need to reform. Maybe they need you here. Maybe I need you here. I don't claim to have a hold over what you do. But I don't want you to leave yet. That's got to count for something, right?
Is she sitting next to me or is she standing next to me?
Sitting next to you on like a stone bench.
I think he doesn't even look at her. He like looks off and he's like, he kind of looks up a little bit. Like, it counts for everything.
She puts her head on like your shoulder.
I think he just like, I think he has like I think he just like at this moment just asks her to marry him because he's just like, he's kind of like, life is short. I'm here on this planet, and I'm like, I think what he's thinking, and I kind of said it already, but
yeah,
he's like, yeah, maybe there's a time, it's kind of what she said also. Maybe there's a time, the 9 years or whatever, but it's like,
yeah,
maybe, like I spent all this time trying to get to heaven, and now it's like, well, I feel like the one true God just wanted to, because all the things that I've suffered on earth, and then I'm just like, I just want to go to heaven. I don't want to be here anymore. But it's like, now that I've accomplished everything I wanted, it's like, oh, maybe I've been given the gift of life rather than, power. Like, I know the one true, I understand that the one true God, and it's like, my instinct is when God offers me power, I take it. But maybe he like is, justifying that there's like a different kind of power, like the power that you're granted that, like a true like follower of the one true God would actually deny it. Like, God is in power and he's empowering me. And it's not that he's granting me power for my own, not selfishness basically. And he's like, no, like God's in power. And that's what his faith is. It's, I am putting my faith in God's power rather than my own. And so he's like, you know what? I don't need it.
Yeah, I definitely like that for the answer to Theo's question here, because like you've been reaching and striving and trying to get to this place because you feel like as soon as you get to that place, you'll have the power to solve the problems you need to solve. The problems were solved before you got to that point. And so, yes, you could keep grasping for power, but like you don't need to, right?
Yeah.
Like, and
well, yeah, and I think like your whole point was like Theo wanted peace and wanted something to be going right, and the point he assumed that he needed power for that.
Yeah,
and so maybe the point is that's not the answer, right? Power is not how you get it there. It's like you said, the opposite of that, right? Surrendering it to
or at the very least, like you don't necessarily need to be the one who takes up that power because your friends did instead, right? Right. Kentarius took up power. Dellon took up power. And you used your power. You did have a lot of power, and you used
like
it.
I have the faith too. So it's like it's almost like I do have the power, but it's not my own, and it's better that way. Like it's like I'm using God's power, so I don't have the responsibility of power, but I do have. It's almost like I'm the vessel for which the perfect, holy, one true God is using His own power instead of like my own will and my own motives.
He has the security and the peace he was looking for without having to be like a violent machine.
Yeah. It's definitely a better place to land than like, okay, I became a patron saint. I have all the power in the world. I can force the world to be peaceful like I wanted it to be. And you're constantly worrying about like having to maintain that control over everything and be like, yes, I'm making it this way, as opposed to being like, actually, it's that way. And I don't have to be responsible for it anymore.
Yeah.
I am curious though. I mean, obviously we can get, we see you propose and y'all can get married and all that. That sounds great.
Dellon, you're invited to my wedding.
Yeah. I sent an invitation to heaven with a faith test. Yeah. Quick, do a difficult faith test. No.
Yeah.
Oh no, you faithed out of the game. No, so I am wondering what your path is over the next years here, Theo. Like what do we see as end game for Theo? Obviously, you have 9 faith. You're eventually going to faith out of the game if you don't just die of old age first, depending on how much you use your faith. But I think no matter how that goes down, it will be a good timing. Like there won't be any angst about that for you or for HEA, whatever that ends up being. It'll be good. I am curious what you spent those years doing though.
What's her faith?
Her faith? Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, she does have it too. Let's check. I think it's pretty high. She has 7.
Okay, that's right.
But it's B7, so it'll take her a while to upgrade that.
All you got to do is have her help you with all of your faith. Like, pick faith rolls that won't be good enough to advance you. We'll be good enough. Yeah.
What if instead of like 9 years? I don't want to like go too far. I mean, he's only like 30, so it's like 40 years old. It's not old, Like maybe it's like 15 years. And he like lives his life, but like he doesn't like go hardcore. It's like a little bit longer. Yeah. But it's just like as he progresses. And I'm thinking like he gets to a point where instead of being like, all right, God, I'm ready, take me. It's like God's like, I think you're ready. And he's like, oh, like instead of seeking it, it's like it's sought after him.
Yeah, like Enoch, right? God's just like, come hang out.
And then
like, buddy.
And then like Asia comes with me or something. And like that's why it's like, oh, now it's complete. Like now we both can come. And it's like, it's not like, oh, you're giving up something. It's like, oh, now that you've given it up already, you go together.
Yep.
And so it's it's like a longer term where it's like, okay, I don't want it. And then he like lives his life. And then it's like, all right, now that you've given it up and been patient, it ends up being like everything you ever wanted in a different way. Mm-hmm. And it's like I had to not want it to get it, kind of thing.
Yeah. I am curious. Do you become, because I think HEA was originally planning on being faith healer gal, right? Do you just become the leader of that like whole does Theo become the leader of the church? Is that what happens?
Probably. I mean,
that makes sense.
Right, you become like the bishop of Lucerta. I mean, honestly, hey, there was an opening for bishop, right?
Yeah.
Like opening for the commander of the Holy Knights is obviously a Vario.
He also did that, like he had that like whole
holy aura moment in the church and like resurrected a bunch of people, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's I think the thing that H.O. is talking about, right? We like established this like healing church thing that they were running.
And Theo with 9 white shaded faith is the like I would imagine he spends the next years of his life like curing plagues and like making
literally you'd have people coming from other continents to like with their dead and stuff, right? Like
right. Yeah, Ceran becomes a nexus of life where you're just like healing people with faith and I like that. Cool. So then in terms of trying to think of what else we need to figure out here. Let's go ahead and do that thing with Dellon now, with Maria, because we do need to figure out what. Speaking of married couples, figuring out how they're going to be gods together or something.
I was kind of wondering that because I was like, okay, you're now a god. How are you like still married? Because I thought that was kind of a problem.
Yeah. Well, so I think before he talks to Maria, and probably the reason he's been putting it off, I think he wants to talk to Narani first because he doesn't know how any of this works.
Yeah.
So like flashback.
Yeah. Well, so I think basically the next thing he does is he goes to talk to Narani because he's like, all right, before I can talk to Maria, I have to find out what I'm working with here.
I don't know where you find Narani, but wherever you want to frame the scene is fine.
I mean, maybe just in like, because we've seen in the Heavenly Realm that like meeting place they were in, right?
Yeah, true. Yeah, the meeting. Yeah, that makes sense. You all are in a meeting, and it's after the meeting, and you're trying to piece things back together. There's a lot of open spots in this round table of gods that you see there.
So maybe that's what he leads with, right? He comes up to Narani, and he's like, I don't know why I keep doing that. And he says, like gestures at the empty, well, they're all empty now, but the empty chairs. And he's like, so how do we go about filling those chairs? What does that mean? There's just powers lying around like there was with Alfons. I mean, that seems dangerous, doesn't it?
She nods. It really depends, Dellon. There are these are responsibilities that need to be taken up by someone, but there are various methods on how to approach this. In the end, it is a task that is not taken up lightly. But in theory, we could help choose, shepherd some individuals who can take up the power.
Well, I've got a few ideas, but I'm not sure any of them are, well, I mean, I suppose I would think Theo would want one, right? But,
wait, he wants a what?
There's open god positions. And I was like, I know people who would be good, but I don't know if they'd want it. But then I was like, I don't know. Dellon probably would think that Theo would want it, even because he doesn't know you just had that conversation.
Maybe like, what if like you had some, like you thought about that, and I don't know if like the one true God told you like wait for it, and then like when I'm given the power, it's like Dellon comes and he's like, come home, my friend.
Yeah.
Right. So like you give it to me, like you're just like being the intermediary for God to be like, okay, he told me, now is the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's cool. So I think down sort of he's quiet for a second, and he says, speaking of ascension and all that, how does this work? I mean, I have a wife and a son. I mean, obviously I can just show up there, but I don't know. I mean, I don't really know how this works.
You're asking Ronnie this?
Yeah.
Yeah. She says, you can show up. It might be something you want to ease into.
I mean, yeah.
I think she says, Dellon, the way that we did things is not the only way. You don't have to be aloof in the heavens after we've lived so long, and well, the way we came to Serragon originally was already... You can just live with your family. It's not an impossibility. you have an immense responsibility and a weight, but there are marriages where that's that. Being the wife of a king is the same thing.
We don't have rules, restrictions. You can't interfere in the lives of mortals, whatever. That's not a thing.
Like
I mean, I know
everything-
it's not, but
Yeah, yeah. She's like, okay, I see what you're just saying. She says, there are costs and trade-offs, as all. The way you decide to approach things will be different and will have its own challenges, but it is a way. It's up to you and up to all of us to decide what we want to do with that now. Other things have changed.
Then what about Maria and Achille? I'll outlive them, I suppose. Can I do anything about that?
They could take up one of the powers, but not everyone is suitable.
No, if Maria would want that. Obviously, Achille is too young to even know what that would mean.
She nods. She's like, I don't think either of them do.
At least I know that that's an option. I can.
Dellon, you can always give up the power, pass it on to someone else. If you wanted to, this could be something that the Tons handle. Not as an individual, but as a legacy. You could raise your son. Yeah, you could raise your son to take up that legacy.
He nods. He says, I like the thought of that.
It wouldn't be entirely fair to him, but life isn't entirely fair to any of us, is it? I think
True.
he could take it up if he was properly prepared.
I'll do my best.
Some of us, Dellon, grasp onto power too tightly. We are immortal because we cannot let go. We would never. But maybe it's time that we do. Some of us, anyway. And you can tell she's talking about herself.
Yeah. Yeah, and he says, well, you have a grandson. Maybe he could take it up if he was prepared.
We'll see. In the meantime, just think about what I've said.
I will. Yeah. I kind of want to ask her how she got to the place where all this stuff happened, but I don't know if this is an appropriate time.
As in, like, her mistakes and...
Yeah, like how she's the goddess of marriage and how she just basically was like, but what if I wasn't?
Well, it's the same way that Tanis is the god of war, right?
Right.
It's just the power over what relationships are. And in their truest, purest form, it means covenant marriage, right? It means like a covenant that shouldn't be and can't be broken. But when that breaks down, then you get sexual relationships without that covenant, without that bond. Right. And
then I think maybe he like hesitates a little bit. He says, I don't mean to overstep my bounds because frankly I don't know where they are, but the whole thing
there's never been a statement more suited to you, Dellon.
Thanks. All this business that sort of led to, well, I guess us and this. I'm trying to think how he says this. Like, your approach to the marriage thing I trust that's been that you've
Purified.
learned some things from all of this.
She doesn't answer you, and like obviously the answer is yes in some way, but
Right.
like you can tell that part of her whole struggle here is like she doesn't trust herself with it anymore, right?
Yeah.
Like, and so she's like, I guess in a sense, but I don't know
Right.
how to. Like I've had, I've treated it this way for so long that I don't know if I am
Mhm.
really capable of relearning.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just, well, maybe you just need someone to be accountable to.
Well, yes, that's certainly going to happen now, thanks to you and Kentarius, both.
Sure. But, maybe the goddess of marriage should find someone to marry. I don't know.
Are you proposing to her? What's going on?
I said find someone, not me.
Find another person.
Yeah.
She puts a hand on your shoulder and she says, "Dear Dellon, worried about your aging mother. We will see."
I mean, Alphon's kind of like your stepdad.
I kind of want to suggest.
No.
Yeah, I don't know. Kind of want to suggest. What was his name? I don't know why I can't remember his name. The wizard guy whose head got cut off.
Gorath?
Yeah, Gorath.
That sounds like the worst idea.
He's immortal, so it's great.
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
Yeah. Anyway, this is all right. Well, I have a very strange conversation to have with my wife. Thank you for explaining this.
She nods.
And good luck. Let me know if just call me if you need anything. Or not call me. I don't know. Summon me, whatever you do.
Yeah.
Can't call people, whatever.
Call for me.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
Then,
and
I'll go talk to Maria, but if someone else has a thing.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like maybe at this point we should start maybe kind of starting to abstract some of this.
Sure.
Because we are getting low on time, and
Sure.
it does seem like, I don't know, Connor messaged or Mickey messaged in our group chat and said like Connor thinks his lung is leaking again. So I don't know if he's even here right now.
His lung.
Oh, I'm here.
Oh, okay. What's going on? Are you okay?
No, I'm good. Yeah, it's fine. I think it's fading.
All right.
Okay. Yeah. Well, maybe we can just we see Dellon show up at his house and hug Maria and
Yep.
He pats Achille on the head, and then we don't hear anything, right? But they're obviously having a conversation.
Yeah. I think that's really all we need to see, right? We need to kind of know how that's going to go.
Agreed.
So I think we should just kind of get some answers to questions now, right? Let's figure out where everyone's going. Obviously Ipina, Luca, Elon, I assume there's not a whole lot that needs to happen there. We assume you guys reconcile and Alfons, who I'm talking about specifically, and try to work through your issues and try to move on. I am curious though, Alfons, what your plan is in the immediate. One person we need to deal with is Yuma. Right, we need to figure out what's going on with her. Are you gonna?
The one she's the one where she said
there?
something to Alphons, but there was some confusion, right? Or did we ever establish?
It seemed pretty clear that they were interested in each other, but it never got. There's no real DTR happened. So, what are you thinking, Alphons?
And we kind of forgot about her a few times.
Yeah. It's fine. We don't need to play out a whole scene where you propose or whatever you want to do,
right.
But I am just curious.
I mean, you'd probably be like, "Yo, I got a kid."
Right.
So
yeah.
I mean, if you're cool with that, raising my incest baby with.
I assume she is at this point. I mean, I think she found out before that, right?
I'm an incest baby. They're an incest baby. It's all fine.
It would be something she'd have to work through, but I think the answer is yes, she's okay with it, right?
I'm curious how Ipina would feel about that, because
Ibida needs to work out her issues and like move on, and that's
Ibida
something
his
that just
sister?
like I think it, at least for now, it makes sense that Alfons needs to have as a careful distance from her while she works on her emotional unhealthiness.
We reopen insane asylums, and she just spends some time there.
Yeah, I assume she gets some counseling from maybe like a church member or something, and like figures out all of that stuff. But yeah, that's kind of montage stuff. But yeah, I think Yuma's fine with that, and she's at this point, like you've saved her from death multiple times, like you've proven yourself as like the hero that Ceran needed. I think she's with you to the end. Yeah, just wanted to get that loop closed there. But I am curious, like Alfons, you want to eventually become world traveler, but you just kind of maybe spend some time first raising your son.
Yeah, he wants to like raise his son to either, like be the champion of Ceran, I guess, or to come with him, whatever he chooses.
Right.
And like,
yeah, see, that's the thing. Both our kids are young.
Gorath.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be cool. Both our kids are like a similar age, and we both want to wait for them to be like grown before we go and do crazy stuff. Which means theoretically, we could go fight space war together with our kids, which would be dope.
That would be dope.
So
yeah, I think that's something that maybe we just get the hints of. Then that would be the plan, right? It's like you're gonna lay low until your kids are grown and they can take up the responsibility as well, right? And then we would see from there how it all shakes out. I think that would probably be around the same time that Theo is done with his mortal coil, right? And so maybe that's the kind of the nice clean wrap that we get, or at least that we assume will happen, right?
It's kind of like the Avengers of like they will return.
Yeah.
Like in a different way.
Yeah.
Different planet.
The thing I'm wondering, I think the end here is, that we're getting montaged and abstracted here, is basically Narani gives up her power and passes on, just decides to be done. And I think that's probably the safest and best option for her and everyone else. But I think the reason that we do this is because, and I'll say one of the people who died, the gods who died, is Dakeos, the god of justice, law, and the dawn. And we have Theo take up that role, if you're down with that,
makes
Adam.
sense.
And Narani takes up, Ichia takes up Narani's role.
Yeah.
Right?
Cool.
That would be kind of awkward in heaven because like the two sisters, and basically I ended up with the other sister. So
yeah, I mean the thing is, like, I feel like that sister is like, she's dead. She's not a god. She's just dead, and so she just keeps being dead. She's done the thing she needed to do.
Who?
Your wife, Kylea.
Oh, well, I thought maybe she's just like she was a dedicated follower, so maybe she's just like my sister, like raised to a patron, like that's just the way it is, and she like respects that.
Nah, I think she's passed on. She lets you have your time and moves on, right? She stuck around in kind of like this ghostly spiritual
been dead
form
for probably like 25 years, so
I don't think quite that long, but yeah.
If it was like 15 years, I mean, she's been dead for a while. I mean, at least how long?
I think she's moved on. She's passed on.
How long was this campaign technically in time?
The actual campaign was only like 3-ish years of time. But yeah, like I think it was at least 10 years that your wife is dead. I don't remember the exact timing. It would probably be on your
I think it was more like 7 years. It wasn't like a long time, but like a long time before. It's probably a couple years before, because I turned and then I kind of went on a rampage and then I got arrested, basically, or I got inquisited.
Actually, yeah, according to your life paths, strictly, your last life path that you took was Temple Acolyte, which was when you were married to your wife. So actually, it was probably not that long at all since between her dying and you becoming a Crow Inquisitor. It was actually almost instantaneously. So she's only been dead for like 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
Makes sense why you weren't moving on. Yeah. But yeah, I think that's a good place to assume that we'll kind of go into the future and happen. If you, Dellon, is that kind of your plan for Aquile, is to kind of raise him up to be the next God of War, and that'll be a
well, that was actually my thought was, the only way he can raise him up properly is for him to see things, at an age where he's able to handle it, of what war is like.
Yep.
And so I almost thought he might take him with him into the spheres, right?
Makes sense.
In the intention to prepare him to go
Prepare him
back
for
and become
being
that.
godhood.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like
I
it.
also
I like
think I want to do like a thing where, because they create relics, right? The gods can do that. I wanted to have Dellon make one that is like his, like, it basically like, yeah, you pass on the knowledge from one person to another, right? Except for instead of just being literally everything he knows, I want it to be more like, his understanding of what war is, right? I wanted to basically attach that to something that I could pass on, so that even if somebody, like the Avatar, right, kind of thing, where it's not like it doesn't like override their mind, but they can know what the previous God of War thought about war, right? They can have his wisdom there, because it's such a huge part of it, of war is, is tempering it and understanding.
Isn't that kind of like in Dune when you become the mother, or the
the Reverend Mother,
Reverend Mother, where it's like they pass on the wisdom of the ages, so they know, they just like compound the wisdom.
I was actually going to use that reference, but I wasn't sure if Caleb was familiar with Dune.
No, I've read more than you have in Dune. I read Dune Messiah as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
I only read the first one.
Yet. I read Children of Dune, I think, but I don't think I read Messiah. Anyway, cool. Yeah. So then, that's kind of my intention, is to like make a lineage like that, like, an Avatar or a Reverend Mother like lineage.
Yeah, and that's part of what I was wondering about with this whole thing is like, I think we've had these aspects be loose enough that they can kind of be handled anyway like that. So I like the idea that that's kind of Dellon's approach to this, and maybe the approach that the gods ultimately should have is this kind of passing down instead of holding it all for themselves.
And I like the idea that it's a little bit like One for All, where like when I first pass it on, we kind of both have it. Like they have a small amount and I have most of it, and then it sort of like bleeds.
I like it
until it's all of them,
And then you pass on of old age. And perfect. I like it.
Sweet.
Cool. I'm double checking to make sure there's nothing else that we need to wrap up here. I think the thought that we had here is, so Ichia is going to dissolve the order permanently, I think, after this all happens.
Sure.
I like the order's purpose originally was to protect the world from demons,
right,
and to keep the prison, though they lost that for a long time.
Right.
But
what
I think
does Gerwin do?
I don't know. He goes off somewhere and does something cool. You decide, David. What does Gerwin do?
Oh, I don't know.
He's like the one remaining named member of the order we know about. So
yeah, sure. Well, he was in it with a woman, right? They're both in the order together. That was like where we stopped in our.
Yeah, I don't remember if I ever brought her up in.
I don't think so.
Core Inquisitors, but yeah, maybe they just get married and I don't know, go do something more productive with their time.
Yeah, fair.
Other things that I have here, Theo, are you going to deal with, like, I assume, do you go find your parents at some point? Maybe that's one of the last things.
I think my father is the only one that's alive,
right? No. So we did talk about this. The note I have here is Theo's parents are alive and living with the Dragon Bloods in New Umhadi, your home country.
Yeah, I think he would go back. Do we want to like script in like a scene where they at least reconcile?
Yeah, I mean, I assume we see it in a montage.
You see,
you take a pilgrimage, right, to go visit them.
Yeah, I think he does. Cool. Tells them all about it, and
another thing too is like once that gets resolved, your uncle was the king of New Umhadi, and he was trying to push for war too. Do you end up dealing with him somehow?
Just pray to.
Yeah, maybe we see you return to New Umhadi proper with your parents at your heel, and then faith test the guy.
Yeah, I like Moses it up. I'm just
exactly.
Let my people go.
Yep. And then like your.
Well, let me just quick make a faith roll here.
And honestly, I think we can say so that Theo can move on. I think we can just say your parents had another child while they were living in New Umhadi, and so they have an heir to their throne, and so they live happily after. Like New Umhadi has another king, Theo can pass on and not have to be king of New Amati either.
Yeah.
Cool. And then I think one of the last things we do see is Antonius. And I think Antonius just lives a normal life. I think
Just goes back to having a business.
I think he literally just goes back to being a blacksmith.
Wait, do Alfons, Antonius, and I all meet up every once in a while to like?
Yeah. We see you guys hanging out over some ale.
Yeah.
But like Antonius is maybe this is where we close it. Let's get one last scene with you guys at like some bar somewhere.
Maybe this is like when I ascend, and it's like I have to go.
Yeah,
like
this
almost
will
like
be-
the end of Lord of the Rings, where they're like, okay, this is the last time we'll ever see. Like we do it like maybe like once a year or something, and then.
So I'd like to say it's like, this last like end credits style scene we see is like 15 years in the future, right? And y'all are a little older. We see, at the very least, it's Alfons, Luca, Theo, Achia, and Antonius. And Antonius, I think, has gotten remarried, had like maybe he didn't have another child, but he at least he like adopted this apprentice of his that he had in season 5 or 4 or whatever it was, that he like started working undercover as a blacksmith again. I think he just like that becomes his like adopted son. And he's like living a normal life. He's like a respected craftsman. So your children are there. Yeah, and I think Dellon maybe shows up this time. And I think that's like the weird thing is maybe the Dellon doesn't normally come to these things because he's like, got lots of stuff to do.
He's coming like, Dellon, what are you doing here? And that's when he like offers and he's like, it's time now.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Right.
I think we should script it out, right?
Yeah.
Where's Jared's time?
You hear Jared? Okay, cool. Yeah, I think we get Antonius basically saying, what is he gonna say? So Alfons, you're going to make a trip soon.
Where am I going?
Into the spheres.
Oh, well, yeah, kids.
I heard Gorath's been poking around again. He always spells trouble.
Yeah, and kids growing up, and I mean, planet's safe, so, and I'm kind of bored.
Could never just live a normal life, could you, Alfons? Have to be doing something heroic. What about you, Theo? Tired of saving the world from plagues?
Seen enough death and disease that you really feel for the people. I never get tired of it. I never get tired of seeing people filled with hope.
He says, "Your optimism makes me sick sometimes, Theo." Takes a long
I'm sure it does, Antonius. I'm assuming Asia is probably like with me, like sitting next to me.
Yeah. Smiling merely.
How's the parental life, Alphonse? A lot different than your past, I might say.
Raising a demigod is certainly interesting.
Yeah, I think we get a shot of Luca and Antonius's like adopted son at like the counter, like talking, while the rest of you are like at a table in the corner of this place. Luca's animatingly like being like, yeah, and then we made this explode with the physical discipline.
I thought I was a prodigy with magic, but
Antonius I think Antonius laughs. He says, "Can't handle another one of you, can you?"
And the only thing that lets me keep up is the orb Cantari is left for me.
Yeah, he says, "Now you know how the rest of us felt."
I think we're gonna need another ale.
2. And then, yeah, Dellon is probably around the time you show up.
Sure, yeah. Trying to think how I don't think Dellon uses a lot of doors if he can help it. He probably just appears in places because it's cooler. Well, really because it's more efficient. So yeah, I think he'll just like I guess coalesce. I don't know, how does that work?
I think what Theo does is he's like drinking his beer. He sees Dellon, and he just spits it out. you old sap, and he like just gives him a bear hug.
yeah, he hugs you back.
It's probably just like someone passes in front of the space you appear in.
Then
Right?
I'm there. Yeah. I was there for like 10 minutes waiting for someone to walk by so I could appear. I whispered in their ears like, "Hey,
Yeah, exactly.
and then they walk. I'm like, okay. I
Go punch that guy. Use my God of War powers. Go punch that guy.
Yeah. How are you?
I think he goes away and he kind of like jokingly is like, "Oh, my apologies," and he like jokingly bows to him because he's like a saint.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like, I'll let it go this time. Jokingly, he taps on his shoulder and says, "How is everyone?" And he looks past you to the others sitting at the table.
Antonius nods. He's like, "Doing fine, Dellon. How's being a god?"
Busy.
I like how we're like blaspheming calling him a god because we're all like, "Yeah, the gods aren't real. They're all just
We're
saints."
just using the colloquial term. Right?
Yeah,
Right.
the lowercase g god.
Yeah. I can imagine.
But well, I suppose that's why I'm here. But first, Alfons, how are you?
Old. No, I'm kidding.
Not that old. They're like
ready
45.
to explore the universe.
Yeah, I see that. He looks over at wow, his name is
Luca.
escaping me now. Luca,
Alfredo.
yeah, Alfredo.
I assume that Aquila is on your heel.
Yeah, Aquila. Nice. Yeah, I think he looks. Yeah, he walks in behind. Probably he walks in through the door, and I'm like,
Actual door.
Yeah. Keely probably gives me crap for not just walking here.
Father, uncle.
Hey, you finally made it. Yeah, it looks like the boys are about old enough they can go join us on our, I don't know, romp across the spheres, I guess. Is that what's happening? It's wild just to think about.
I'd like to think that like you and Alfons have probably have gone out of Serragon at least once before this point, right?
Yeah.
Some introductory sort of missions with
right, yeah.
Either the
Probably been to
Hellbreakers or
Azimuth and
Gorath.
stuff.
Yeah, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But now it's time to do the real stuff.
Yeah. This is before we leave though, I have some business with you two. H is here too, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And since I've been holding on to this for a while, Theo, I was going to give it to you right away, but I had it on some higher authority that it wasn't a good time. But it seems now is. And he like holds out a hand, and like a silvery, like, I don't know, they're just orbs, right? The powers.
I don't think we describe them as anything but like ephemeral light. Yeah.
Yeah, like gleams in his outstretched hand. Says, the great god says it's time. You've learned what you needed to learn, come where you needed to go, or gone where you needed to go. And he's got something else for you now.
I think he kind of just like is staring at it. When the great god calls, I answer.
And Aichia turns to you and says, "Well, I suppose I knew this day was coming." And like squeezes your arm. Like she's saying goodbye to you because she doesn't realize she's going to.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. I was like,
Yeah.
she's thinking like, oh, he's gone.
Now he's ascending to be a saint, right?
Yep.
We landed on that.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think Dellon says, it's not so bad. I'm with Maria. It's busy, but I was busy before.
Yeah.
But
It's actually easier to get back and forth now.
Right. Yeah. I don't have to walk anymore. It's great.
Yeah.
But I don't think you'll have that issue. Nirani, she decided it was time for someone else to take up her mantle. And well, neither of us could think of anyone more suitable. And so he holds out his other hand. And yeah, there's like I don't know,
Blue
like a
light.
Yeah. Swirling in that hand. Says, and Greek God has something different for you too. Or maybe not different. Maybe just more.
Yeah, she smiles brightly, looks at you, Theo, and says, well, I suppose you'll not be rid of me so soon.
Hey, you just smile.
Yeah, good. You
Turns around and grabs his trident.
Yeah, and he says, and while I'm handing out gifts, I suppose maybe it's time for these. And he'll summon some magical swords to give to Achille
And Luca.
and Luca. Yeah,
Nice.
because
Sweet.
they're ready, right?
Yeah. I love it. Luca's like, yes, finally. Takes it up. Achille, a little bit more reserved, says, thank you, Father.
Of course, you guys have earned them. You're gonna need them.
And I think that's the point where Gorath bursts into the room very unceremoniously with Ludwetta on his heel. And he says, all right, gentlemen, ladies too, it's time for some fun. You ready to see the spheres? It's time for the grand tour.
We can't see them in front of they're kids here. Come on.
He rolls his eyes. So you haven't changed, Alfons. And then Ludwetta
Still
says,
a god of harems, I see.
I'm a dad. I get to make dad jokes.
yeah, fair enough. Yeah, Ludwetta looks at Gorath and says, you're still the same as ever too, Gorath. And he nods. He says, yes, well, when you've lived as long as I do, you settle into some old patterns. All right. Well, first stop, Azimuth. Next stop, the rest of the universe. Here we go.
Reminds me of the end of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy when he's like, now we're going to go to the restaurant at the end of the universe. Also, I was thinking of Slarty Bar Fest when he takes someone to like the tour of all the planets.
Nice.
Like through the universe. You never read the book? Okay, never mind.
No.
Because they create planets, and he takes them on this crane that takes them around and sees all the planets that they created.
So yeah, I think unless you guys have a last moment or something you want here, I think Antonius says, shakes your hand, says goodbye, and y'all disappear. Out the door.
Oh dang it! No, I don't want to do that.
I think the entire ozone layer forms into a giant Cantarius smiling from above.
He waves.
Goodbye.
Like in cartoons when you see the Earth and it turns and there's a face on it and he just waves.
Yeah, it's like the Teletubby sun.
Yeah.
With Cantarius' face.
Yeah, I'd like to think the very last thing we get is all of you leave out the door and we get Antonius there with his adopted son and he walks over and they're kind of sitting alone in the drinking I think the adopted son, who don't have a name for it, but it doesn't matter that much, looks over to Antonius and says, well, bittersweet, Father? And Antonius nods. He says, bittersweet. But, well, those fools were always better cut out for that life than I was. I'm perfectly content to live out my days here. And you know what? We have those fools to thank for it. And he raises a glass and then takes a drink and we cut to credits.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah.
I don't know why I was picturing that Pirates of the Caribbean ending.
Yeah.
Probably because all of their endings are really dramatic.
Right. Yep. Yeah, that's fair.
Cool. Yeah, I think that's probably where we end. I don't know if we need to spend a whole bunch of time talking about traits and whatever. I think it's a good spot to kind of call it. I do think Theo gets his last deeds point. Right.
Yeah.
For his
finally
decide. His decision to specifically for his decision not to. Right.
True. Right. Yeah.
Just his decision to accept that he didn't need to,
Right.
and then he eventually gets the reward. But I think that's the last deeds point we hand out, and I think that's it. I think that's Crow Inquisitors, my friends.
Awesome.
Well, thanks for hanging out with us, Connor, as we talked to you.
Yeah.
I hope
he was watching from the atmosphere.
He was, yeah. Cool. Yeah. Any last thoughts or?
Yeah, I'll probably have to re-listen to this whole episode on Monday.
Yeah. Any last thoughts? Things we want to say before we head out?
Are we going to do an after show thing, talk about the show in general, or?
I think if we do, we should do it at a different date. Carly's having a hard time with the boys right now. She's feeling pretty sick, so I think we'll go ahead and wrap up.
I was thinking, because I was like, okay, so now that Theo and Aisha are married, I was thinking like, wouldn't they want to have kids? But I was thinking like, remember when she was stabbed? Like maybe although she was healed, like she wasn't able to have kids, and like I was trying to say like if they wanted kids but weren't tied down by them not having to leave, and maybe like they started. I mean, like, because they were part of the church, and maybe they kind of worked on an orphanage, and so like they didn't have a direct connection to the kids, but they were like, well, we can't have kids because otherwise I would have had to fit it in like Alfons and Dellon.
Sure.
It's like maybe they just didn't have the opportunity because I remember she was stabbed, and maybe that was like she wasn't able to, and we just had like as part of the
some orphans you raised, yeah, cool, yeah,
nice. I like that would make sense.
Yeah,
like that.
Cool stuff. Well, very satisfying ending to Crow Inquisitors. I'm excited to finally bring that to a close. Thanks for going on this journey with me, guys. It's been 81 episodes. Crazy. It's been wild and awesome. Yeah, man, these character sheets are bonkers, and that's what happens when you play 81 sessions of Burning Wheel.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's satisfying too because it takes so long to get to places.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. When you have a long game, it's like you really get to see it.
Yeah, man, we really got to see these characters change and grow in some awesome ways, and I was really happy with it.
I was thinking like, the way we set it up, if we wanted to do something, we could have it where we play new characters, but maybe they're integral to these characters, like almost like, I mean, like kind of like how Nirani was like my patron saint, and like I was doing stuff, and it's kind of like now our characters are now like the patron saints of these new characters in a different part of the universe. And it's kind of like, so we'll like have them show up and be like, all right, I need you to do this, but you have to do it and we're going to help you.
Or
I would definitely love
and
that's always a possibility. I would definitely like to bring back this thread that we've started here with like they're out in the universe doing things at some point, but I think it's probably more likely to be a different campaign on a different planet and they show up at some point to do something more like that.
That's kind of what I was thinking. Like you're
a direct sequel.
They show up.
Sure.
Yeah.
Is it all like the same? Like because this is like the universe. Is it all the same? Like what's the word? Like setting, or is there any sort of like space? Like more developed societies.
I know I haven't informed you as much about how this all works, Adam. But basically, it's like a galaxy, an actual like modern science galaxy, with planets that separate. But you can use magic to get between them. And there are different planets with different setups and whatnot. Serragon was special because it was like had super powerful magic in a way that the other ones don't, and there's a whole big cosmological thing going on here. Basically, there's demons attacking every world, and this was a really important battleground fighting against those demons. And now that this has been claimed, now you can move out to other worlds that are having problems with demons and deal with them, so on and so forth.
And there are some planets that had like actual technology, and some that had like magitech.
Yeah,
and they're not all like strictly.
There's a whole big thing going on here that I there's some fun stuff. I know we talked at one point about doing like a having you maybe join us for our generation ship game that we were going to do in the Hellbreaker sequence thing. So I'll have to fill you in more on like what the setting's all about and what's going on here for sure. It's pretty fun, and I would like to return to it at some point. I know that for right now, we're going to finish up Heroes in Training, which is the side game we've been doing whenever Adam isn't free for Crow Inquisitors with the four of us. We've been doing a superhero game. But we'll figure out what might be next in the future after that. I know we want to have Adam back on to do something else at some point.
Sure.
But you just let us know, Adam.
I still want to do that one character where he's like in a space, a futuristic space, almost like a Star Wars thing, where there's a guy and he's like this super scrawny, like not a fighter at all, but he's extremely intelligent, but like also extremely like anxious all the time, but he's a really good pilot and he's a really good shot with a gun, but like anything else, he's like a coward. And so it's like he's really good at these two things, and he's really intelligent. But like, if he gets in a fight, he's just going to get beat up, and he's kind of like a wimp in certain.
Yeah, I definitely love to do a sci-fi game with you at some point. I think that'd be
awesome.
blast. All right, cool. Well, let's go ahead and wrap it up there.
Yeah.
Thanks for playing, guys, and thank you for watching. This has been Crow Inquisitors. We're out.
Thanks for GMing.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
definitely.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thanks for hanging out and playing. It's been a blast. We're out. Adios.